I know me and you aren't the only ones that, right, that have things that we don't want to just have it be the things we carry and suffer with. Like, how can we use this and turn pain into purpose?
From trauma, what you've been through in life, to what you are now, to the shining, bright, beautiful, strong woman that you are sitting here in front of me today. It's fucking awesome. Congratulations. But you want to give everybody just a little bit about, your background and kind of just how we even got here today?
Yeah. So as you mentioned, I created Wounds to Wealth, and that's basically just a whole entire entity of overcoming from pain to purpose, kind of what that whole I am redemption thing is. And it stems from, trauma from when I was a little girl, and kind of how that propelled me into these self-fulfilling prophecies and these loops of life, and how I overcame them and stepped into self-leadership and empowerment, and kind of got the ball rolling with generational wealth building and so forth. So
that's awesome. So, my, big part of my story, obviously drug addiction, trauma, PTSD, whatever you want to call it. But the one thing I've learned in my world is I started getting high for a reason. There was a reason at the beginning that got me to be doing that in the beginning. And I think it's kind of the same way for you in a lot of ways. So like, where did your story kind of start, or how did things start for you?
Yeah. So, and I've been doing a lot of work about it and kind of funneling down the journey of how I got to where I am today, and how I got to the icky places of where I've danced upon. And it started back when I was 7 years old. That was the first time that I had anything traumatic happen to me. And in my case, it was sexual assault, sexual molestation. For that kind of continued and propelled on for many years, whether it be from different people, different stepdads, different situations that I have to hold accountability for in my healing journey that I put myself in. And it took me kind of looking back and trying to understand, why was I putting myself in these situations? It's obviously nobody wants to be put in these things, or intentionally does, but the subconscious mind is a tricky game to navigate. And with that did lead me down a path of drug abuse, drug addiction as well, but primarily just any type of thing I can get my hands on to numb the reality of what I was facing. And it just continuously, like I mentioned, propelled me in this vicious cycle, all the way up into being a young adult when I moved to Los Angeles at the bright age of 18, and found myself in the industry. And
all by yourself?
All by myself, yeah. I didn't have any plan. I had, a couple hundred in my pocket from working at McDonald's since I was 14 years old, to Home Depot, to all these other little side gigs. And I didn't know anybody, and I was just trying to find myself outside of the assault and sexual abuse from when I was a child back east. And yeah, so that's kind of where it all began, and we just kind of continuously fuel that identity of ourselves, of which our subconscious grasps onto, whether it be that this is all I'm good for, or I'm dirty, I'm broken, and you just kind of create this reality in your mind and keep it going.
Right. There's I remember, I'm 42 years old, getting ready to turn 43, and I remember growing up, like, you didn't hear about trauma. You didn't hear about people talking about being abused or anything like that. And then now, thankfully we live in a world where people are a lot more open. And then through social media, through podcasting, through all this stuff, people are able to get their stories out there, and then people hear it and understand, like, oh, it's not just me.
Right.
What, if you don't mind, like, I can't even begin to even craft this question the way I want to, but like, as a young person, 7 years old, you said, like, yeah. What does that start doing to your mental space as you're growing up in that age? Because the one thing I do know is I've become very aware of, like, everything that happens to us as a child will affect us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Later in life. And I have a little bit more sympathy for a lot of people that are still kind of lost in their way as an adult, because at some point, now granted, everybody has free will, they can make their own decisions and all that stuff, but when people are conditioned under abuse and stuff like that, it does different things to our mind, and that's the most forming time of your brain. You're a mother. So like, what I mean, if you could go back, like, what did that do to your head?
Yeah. Well, in my program, we actually even talk about the imprint period, and that's what you're referring to. The imprint period is the ages from 1 to 7, oddly enough. And then there's a few other different type of periods from, adolescence to adulthood. But the imprint period is the most impactful, profound time frame for children, and who they develop to be, and who they become as an adult in the world and society, how they reflect upon themselves. And I'm actually starting EMDR therapy this weekend to kind of go back to understanding what did that really do for me. It's a lot, there's with people, and specifically like children that kind of grow up in that type of environment, there's a lot of disassociation that comes of it. And a lot of people don't even remember what happened to them when they were 7 years old, 5 years old. And those were the most impactful things. So in the moment of being 7 and when all of these things were unfolding, I can't necessarily pinpoint exactly the thought of little 7-year-old Lydia that was like, I'm dirty. I got these secrets, but I can funnel back and see the subconscious of it all, of how it led me to everything else, and just knowing that I felt deep shame, and I felt like I was carrying something that wasn't mine, that kept me to keep my head down. I was a very isolated kid. I guess you can't call it emo kid, right? I kind of just isolated. I didn't have a groupie. I didn't have a clique in school. I kind of just gypsied around. I think that all kind of targets into this burden or this weight that I was carrying and secrecy of what was going on behind closed doors. And again, like at 7 years old, that's when it started, but it continuously progressed. That one particular person went on for months. And there's, all of these conflicting thoughts of like, am I to blame for this? Am I, or there's things that happen when we go through trauma, like what's happening, right? That's like the biggest thing is like, especially when we're a kid, we try to give meaning to things that are just senseless. There doesn't need to be meaning to them. But we as humans are meaning-making machines. That's something I learned in the Landmark, which is another program. And we try to make sense of things, again, which are senseless. And so I think a lot of that came from during the times of 7 up through those months where I'm like, not sure, like, is this my fault? Is it this? I need to keep my head down. I'm dirty. I can't let people see me. Let's hide in the shadows. Let's wear all black. Let's not look attractive so I don't draw in more prey, right? And things like that. And it just kind of kept me to living with deep sorrow. And everyone that knew me in high school knew it. I was in and out of psych wards many times as a kid, and dealt with like some pretty heavy depression. And it wasn't really until I got to California and was facing some real life. Not that wasn't, but like, at that point I'm fighting the demons in my mind after all of those things were going on. And then I got to California on my own and I started facing like real life
Now you got to
villains.
be an adult.
Yeah.
Now you got to be
right?
an adult.
That I had to step out of this identity and create a new identity, right? Because a lot of times we do that to survive. And that was the identity that taught me to boss up. So now I'm just trying to find that balance of, heart and soul and armor and toughness, right? So
if you ever find out the key to balance, let me know.
I'll let you know. You'll be the first I call.
I take myself back to being young, and I think my primary motive in life was I didn't want to get in trouble because I was always in trouble.
Yeah.
Never like huge trouble, but I would just think everything I did is going to get me in trouble. And so I think about a young person going around with a burden like that. Like, is that what you're feeling? Like, if I say something, like, because as an adult, you're like, well, why didn't they say something?
Right.
But is it because I'm sure it's shame, guilt, not wanting to be in trouble.
Yeah. Well, that was how he manipulated the situation. I remember not everything in detail, but I remember I was on the school bus and some kid told me that they wanted to have sex with me. And I didn't even know what that meant. And I'm young. I don't even know how they knew what that meant, right? Something at their home, right? Whatever. We have to look at it with compassion. But anyway, and I remember getting off that school bus and I came to this man and I told him that this kid said this. And this is why I'm very big on like educating our kids about, these things early on, especially in today's society, because this is a way that kids get manipulated. But he made it to be the biggest deal ever and said, I'm going to tell your mom, I'm going to, what you just said was dirty. So let me make you dirtier, right? Really in the grand scheme of things. But he made me think that I said like some antichrist thing, like, just like the worst thing possible. I'm 7. I don't even know what that means. He didn't even tell me what it meant. He just like, I guess wanted to show me or something. I don't know. And so that's why I didn't necessarily tell anyone at that time, because I thought, by doing what he was asking me to do in that little plastic toy house out in the backyard, that I was saved by the bell, and that I wouldn't get in trouble, similarly to you, right? And but then I just realized that I just felt all wrong, and something was really wrong here.
I can look, at the stuff I was kind of exposed to as a kid, nothing like what you were, but still things that weren't right. And I watched how they shaped me as a young person in middle school and high school, going into like my first relationships. And then as I got older, like it formed that stuff. And so like how, as you're going in now to adulthood in California, and now you're this adult and you have to make adult decisions, like at that time, like how had that formed how you felt about yourself or love or compassion or a relationship at that point? Are you sitting there feeling like I'm not worthy of a relationship? I need to, like, I know I've heard people say before, I don't ever want to speak for you, but like, that's what you start associating love with, is the abuse that you were having. Like that's love. And then that segues to what kind of the direction where you go, or what? Yeah,
well, it's like we naturally find comfort in the familiar, right? And so that's just how our egos, our nervous systems function. It's just the unknown is uncomfortable, and even if chaos is what's known and still isn't the most comfortable, we know how to navigate it. Mm-hmm. So chaos has just been like the name of my game growing up, right? And with falling into drugs, with getting picked up in a 14-wheeler, getting tattooed up, as a middle schooler, lasers. So all of these things was chaotic. And so as an adult going into California, chaos was bound to rain on my parade, right? It was just something that subconsciously I was drawn to. So to say that I'm moving in life, telling myself these non-affirmations that I'm unworthy, I can't say that I did that. Subconsciously, I'm moving in life not valuing myself enough, because I wasn't taught to value myself enough, because my value felt as though it was stripped from me, right? I'm dirty. I'm holding secrets. People can't know me, or else these things will come out, right? And so when I got to California, I wasn't looking for love really. There's two sides to a coin to like sexual assault, especially as a child. It tends to be like complete abstinence and shying away from sex. And then there's promiscuity, right? And I ended up going down that path in high school. And, I never really had boyfriends before. I'm in my very first real committed, solid spiritual relationship that I think might be the love of my life. And it's been incredibly healing. I'm having all of these bodily sensations. Like I'm kind of trembling right now, but it's just like these trauma tremors that I'm learning of what's happening, right, to my body as I share my story, as I step out of this survival that I've been living in. So don't mind me, but it's all in good nature. And that's what the EMDR is going to help assist me with, because I've never not been out of survival except for this year. So 20 years of my life. But anyway, so again, not navigating life thinking, like telling myself that I'm unworthy or whatever, but obviously the narrative of which I created meaning from the things that happened to me as a kid, I made meaning from that, even though it was meaningless, that I was broken, or this is all I'm good for. Mm-hmm. This is all I'm good for. That was a big one that I was able to target. Like, if this happened to me my whole life, if people, even as a teenager, even though I was promiscuous and put myself in situations like that, people just kind of use and abuse me. Like, shit, like this is what I'm here for, for better or for worse. And I use that to my advantage, I guess, in a way. And that's how I kind of fell into the industry, but it was more of a place of survival, because I ran away from home. I was running away from suicidal tendencies. I was running away from.
I mean, you just said 14 in a tractor trailer getting tattooed.
Yeah. Yeah, fed cocaine. I got tested for HIV every month for a year as a 14-year-old. God bless. God bless, I'm good by the grace of God. But yeah, and I kept that a secret too, right? Until I ended up in a psych ward. They did a body check. They saw this tattoo from my labia down to my thigh, and they're like, "What the hell?" Called my mom up. My mom has no idea. She's calling my best friend up. My best friend's crying on the phone. She's like, "Yeah, this happened." And I'm like, "Shit."
Grown man obviously did this.
Yeah, grown man, grown. He went to jail. I kept it. Whatever. He deserved it, but so anyway, so yeah, exactly. I'm like running away from all this. In my head, I was like, I got to make it work here, or I'm gonna find myself in an empty motel room with needles in my neck, or a noose around my neck if I stay over there. And so the survival of the industry was inviting.
I can remember the beginning of the football season this year. My wife said, "Do you want to go out and watch the game?" And I said, "Yeah." And I let her pick the place. Of all places, for whatever reason, she picked Twin Peaks.
Okay.
And so we go to Twin Peaks, and for the first time in my life, like, I felt old, because when we walked into Twin Peaks, it's right by Texas State, which is obviously a college town. It's all the college girls working in there. And I walked in there, and they all got their shorts on, their boobs pushed up, their makeup caked on their face. And I walked in the door, and I'm like, oh my God, these are babies. Like, these are little babies. Like, these are, and so to even think about 14, you know what I mean? That's, 4-6 years younger than what they are. What you were to them is just fucking mind rattling.
Yeah.
Absolutely mind rattling. So you brought up drug abuse. Like, what are we talking? You said cocaine?
Yeah, cocaine
everything?
was definitely I don't like to say, but I was experimental, right? So yeah, I basically tried everything under the sun for the most part. But I went through my phase of heroin being my drug of choice. Started by snorting and get to the tinfoil and get to fucking needles, and then cocaine was my biggest grip holder.
Coke is miserable.
God,
miserable.
Well, when you're like a depressed cat and you're kind of already low energy or whatever, that thing just like gets you that fucking ego boost that you needed, right? The other thing, I just fucking kept me more depressed and vomiting, but I still kept doing it, type shit. And I moved to California away from, my sources out there in the East. And somehow I still found it, right?
Of course.
It's easy, right?
Wherever we go, we can find it.
Exactly. And that kind of just kept fueling it, and started fueling in work, making it a little easier, or so I thought, right? And just helping the disassociation of it all, to the point that I was just completely disconnected from my body, which is why my body's having weird reactions these days as I'm stepping out of survival. Crazy what the body and the mind can do, man.
100%.
And just can leave you behind. But,
I can remember when drugs first started getting a hold of me, then I tried bouncing around the country, because I thought if I just run, go to a new place, everything's going to be better.
Yep.
And then I end up in North Carolina, and my go-to is I need to find a hookup. So I'm going to the strip club, and within minutes, I'm going to find a hookup, and I'm going to be good to go. Well, then I end up getting a job there, so now I'm a bouncer in one of the nicest strip clubs in North Carolina. Then I'm selling coke. Then I'm doing this. My habit's crazy, and just like in that whole life that it all comes with. It's everybody. I remember growing up. You think I was so delusional at that time that I literally brought my parents into the strip club because I got to wear a tux to work, and I thought I was big shit. And here I have my fucking poor mother in there, and this, you know what I mean, girls dancing everywhere. But I was delusional. Like, look at me. Look what I'm doing. But being in that world and being around those girls, like, you might think it's glamorous working at a strip club as a bouncer like that, being around all those girls, but then you start seeing why girls are dancing, or what they're going home to, or the abusive dude that's picking them up, or they don't have an option whether they're going to work or this or that. And then you watch them turn over all their fucking money as soon as they walk out of the door. And I just remember being like, wow. And since I've worked in a strip club, never stepped foot back in one. I can't do it. You know what I mean? I can't. Yeah. I'm not going to put my heart. Not that the girls don't need the money or whatever like that, but I can't do it in good conscience, knowing what it is.
Yeah.
And then I remember growing up, there was Oriental massage parlors everywhere around, And then once I got old enough to realize what those were, I'm like, oh man, you just go there and like get that. I didn't know back then that those are literally fucking trafficked sex workers. Like those girls don't want to be there. They're from Korea, Vietnam, all these other places, and that's the only way they can get over to the States, and then they're just discarded.
Yeah.
But it took me to get to being an adult to realize like what those women are going through at that time, and then the more you get into the addiction world and you start hearing people start opening up about their experiences and stuff like that, like it is so fucking common. You'd be hard pressed to find a man or a woman in the recovery world, for the most part, hard drug wise, that didn't sell their body at one point or another. Like it's so fucking common. So the fact that you hit a point in your life, you know, to where you are now, to be going on podcasts, to do your content, to share that, like I want you to know, like there's so much fucking strength in that, because there are so many people. They may not comment, they may not message you, but they're fucking watching. So it's fucking beautiful what you're doing.
Thank you.
If you don't mind, like drug-wise, back in the day, your worst day, rock bottom, what did it look like?
Yeah. My worst day, rock bottom. I was pushing cocaine at the time, so I had this woman's number. I was trying to get her to have my number for coke, but she was a heroin addict. And I remember her calling my phone number. It was a cold Maine day, so it was a blizzarding out. And she called me up and asked me.
They got cocaine in Maine?
Oh, yeah, they do. It's not just the snow that falls from the ground. No, I'm kidding. Anyway, yeah, and so she calls me up, and I'm 16 at the time, and she's an older woman. She has kids, and she's like, hey, man, I'm dope sick. I'm having a really hard time. I had a lot of friends that, I lost a few friends to it already. Actually, heroin's a big epidemic out in the East Coast, particularly in Maine, just with depression and the fucking weather, excuse my French. Anyway, and she calls me up telling me that she's dope sick. And do I know anybody? I'm like, yeah, I know somebody. I mean, I got this, but I do know somebody for that, right? And she had me come pick her up off Brown Street, which if you know, you know. And I souped her up. She all of a sudden was putting a car seat in the back seat of my car. And she's got a little girl with her. It's not my most prideful moment, right?
No, of course.
Anyway, and so I'm driving that Blizzard. It's white out, and I'm driving up to the plug's house. We pull up. She's like, "Oh man, is this them?" And I'm like, "Yeah, the twins." And she's like, "Oh, I can't. I think you can't see me. I can't be seen by them." I'm like, "All right, I'll go up and get it." So I go up and I get it, and of course he's thinking it's for me. I'm trying to keep her isolated in secrecy because I don't know what's happening with them. Sorry, I'm shaking because I'm talking about big stuff.
So they knew each other?
Yeah.
Okay.
Small community.
She probably owed him money?
Maybe. Probably. Right? Something. Not my business. I try to keep my head down. And so I go up there, and he's telling me how it's good shit, boo, boo, boo. I've already been doing it, at this point, but I wasn't anticipating doing it right then. But he racks me up a line of it, and insists that I try it out before I take it. And I'm like trying to not be suspicious or anything. So I do that fucking line, and I get back in the car, and I'm driving, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh fuck, I got this kid in the backseat of my car. All this shame's just overpowering me. I give her what she needs, whatever. And as we're getting closer to the thing, she starts slapping her neck. She's like, she literally said verbatim, "My jugular thirsty." She just kept doing that and saying, "My jugular thirsty." I'm like 16, and I've only like smoked it off fucking whatever and snorted it at this point. She's asking me, and at this time, like I'm struggling with like depression. And I've always kind of struggled with depression. I'm a pretty sad soul inside, but I'm in a power soul at the core, right? But anyway, so all of that just kind of, navigated my decision-making skills, right? Like I'm not trying to like necessarily go off and like die this very second, although I've had those moments, but like, I don't care if I live or die type shit, know? And she kept offering me if I wanted some. In my fucking whatever. I was just slapping her neck. I'm like, oh man, I don't know. Can I think about it? And I'm driving. I'm like kind of already, high off of that fucking line that I'm driving through this blizzard. Luckily, it's just like a mile and a half. I
just want everybody to know it is not cold in the studio right now.
Yeah, my body's been doing crazy shit, man. I'm working through
No,
this
that's
stuff.
what I want. That's what I want them to know. It's not cold in here. That you're doing that for that reason.
Yeah.
But go ahead, please.
And so anyway, I pull up to the crib, and I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. That was it. Fuck it. What do I got to lose? My life? Okay. That'd be the greatest day in my head, right, at the time. God bless. I have a beautiful daughter now, and that's not where I'm at. And so I go in there, and she gets her spoon, and she gets her dirty needle. I didn't even see her take out a clean needle at the time. You know, I'm so naive at this time. Like, and I just didn't care.
Yeah.
You don't know? It's like crazy to think back on that. And she, you know, doing her thing with the fucking spoon, woo, 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 gives it to herself, da-da-da. She gives it, you know, asks me if I want to do it. I'm like, nah, you can do it for me. She fucking does it for me. And, you know, I wait a few minutes, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes go by. I'm like, I don't feel it. Hit me again, right? And she hits me again.
You didn't feel it in your neck?
No,
Really?
not the first time. Or it was delayed because I was already kind of high off the fucking line. I don't know, because all of a sudden she hit me again and I was fucking sick. And I'm fucking nodding off. Little kid, she's like my daughter's age, you know, like aware. Just thinking about my kid and that situation. And so anyway, I'm in the bathroom, I'm fucking puking. I'm like, I gotta go. So I get in my car. I'm like, have all the shame of this little girl. And I'm like, not feeling well. And I get in my car. I'm like nodding off. Luckily, again, it's only like a mile. And I'm driving back home. I'm like, oh, fuck, I gotta get home. You know, all this shit. And it's blizzarding. I get home and I just remember getting my trash can. I creeped in my room. I don't remember, you know, my mom was there, but my mom struggled with mental health herself, so she wasn't necessarily always there mentally. And I just remember hugging that trash can and quietly crying. And I thought that was it. I thought I was going. I thought I was like dying. I don't know why. I was just so sick. I thought I was overdosing or something. I was fucking hardly 90 pounds at the time, right? Barely 105 now. Yeah, so that was my rock bottom with that.
That's that was the first time you had ever shot up with your neck?
Yeah.
Holy shit. That's a jump right there.
Yeah.
To the neck. I can remember the first time I hit my neck, I was in a Starbucks parking lot. Or no, Starbucks bathroom. And I fell out and then woke up like in the bathroom. Who knows how much longer later. But yeah, that's no joke, especially for 16.
Yeah.
I didn't see hard drugs till I was out of high school. But to see how it's just like continually gets younger and younger for people every day.
Yeah. Yep.
So what was it, you know, to go through all this stuff as a young person and then as a young adult to start going through this stuff? And I imagine you had said before, like this lasted for years. At what point did you hit where like enough was enough, or like what sparked the change where you were like, I can't do this anymore? Because it had to be something serious for you to have the confidence to say, this isn't me anymore. I need to change in my life. Or was it your daughter? Or?
Yeah, I mean, are we talking about drugs? Are we talking about the industry? Are we talking about just self-destruction? What one?
I mean, what was the beginning first step to you making the change? Getting out of the industry, kicking drugs, what? Well,
I was, getting out of Maine got me out of like this sad girl thing, having to I had to create a whole identity, not only in the industry, right? But to survive it, it's a dog eat dog world out there. Yeah. And I was bound to get eaten up if I didn't learn how to eat myself.
Right.
And so because of the big city and all of that kind of, I was running away from this guy that I got into some sort of arrangement with, who ended up sending me death threats. I briefly mentioned this on another podcast, but he's sending me death threats for months. I didn't leave my house. I didn't know anybody out there at the time. I was petrified. I was the first time that I was really like, I've been robbed to knife point, but by this guy I was screwing. We were geeked out, back in the day when I was, 17. But I knew him, and I don't know, this guy. This an older man. I remember him talking about how his sister was molested one time at dinner, and how he would kill him, but he wouldn't do it. He'd pay somebody. So that's in the back of my head. I'm like, I don't even know who the fuck. Excuse my French. I don't even know who I'm looking for.
You speak okay. However you normally speak.
All right, cool. But I'm working on that because I have a kid.
Gotcha.
Anyway, I didn't even know who I was looking for. Woo, woo, woo. And so I was petrified. And so it came a point I was walking, listening to some like gangster rap because I'm so used to my emo pop punk music. Music can really shift the game, I tell you, for better or for worse, though, right? In this generation. It just snapped. And I was like, I didn't come out here to be anybody's bitch. That was verbatim what I said. And from that moment on, I got out of like hiding from this guy. I called the police. He ended up flooding my whole place. I was going to have to pay for the whole, I was in a big apartment complex. I was gonna have to pay for the flooring and the ceiling of the thing. Well, the maintenance guy took advantage of my vulnerability, and I ended up doing what I had to do to get away with that. Right? I mean, it's just this loop that just happens, and all of a sudden you're like, you attract it, right? It's like you obviously just scream, I'm vulnerable and willing to do whatever I can to survive, and people just flock to that like moths. And so, but I called the police. I didn't do jack for it, and I was just out all on my own. And that's when I kind of just started to boss up, and I navigate in the industry. That's just its whole other journey. That took nearly 10 years of my life, my whole adulthood, and the whole time I got my massage therapist license. I was bartending. I got my real estate license, closed an escrow. I was doing everything I could.
You ain't never have a problem hustling, damn.
Yeah, for sure. I got that in me. I just need to use it for the greater good,
right.
For my well-being, but hopefully the world, teach them what I know, for better or for worse, and try to save some valuable lessons and time on some good lessons that I've gathered. But and so getting out of that whole thing, I just I don't know. I realized that I have such an intelligent mind that is not being utilized. And I have such a beautiful heart and soul that is masked by this persona to survive. And it's going to waste, just so I can give somebody some sugar, right? And so really doing the work on myself and my trauma. I've been in talk therapy since I was 12, right? It's been many years. I've had a therapist and in and out of the, whatever. But really looking at myself instead of just talking about things and oversharing my lore all the time. How do I hold accountability for how I got here? How did I get here? That's where I discovered these narratives of oh, this is what I'm good for. I had no idea that I was just repeating this vicious self-fulfilling prophecy in the name of comfort, of the known, of chaos and abuse, assault, trauma. That was my bread and butter. I could survive that, That's I don't know how to survive genuine love. I'm in this relationship right now. I'm like, holy shit,
Yeah.
I don't even know how to love you like I do because I got so much to give, but I really don't know how to receive you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to learn how to be in a healthy relationship when you're not used to them.
Yeah,
for sure.
Or a healthy life.
Yeah.
What? Bracing for impact, right? I tell my man that all the time. I'm like, I'm fucking bracing for impact, babe. And he's just he's so good with me, and that's just the thing is just finding that calm to the storm to just bring you out from that rainfall, man. I don't know, but. And so again, to wrap it up, what you asked is it was really taking a hard look at myself, who I am, how I got here, not in a pity party, but it's okay to hold yourself a little bit, but then you got to hold accountability. I was able to easily say the reason why my life spiraled out was because of that guy when I was 7, right? Mm-hmm. It's him. He held the reins to my life. And that's and we do that a lot in trauma. I wouldn't be this messed up if this didn't happen to me, if this person didn't do this to me or whatever. And that was a big thing with getting in the industry. I just blamed everything else. Oh, I have to survive or all this. And it's true. There's truth behind that, but two things can be true at one time. And, I had to really take a hard look at myself and see where am I creating this loop? And how can I redirect my heart, soul, mind, and energy into something more powerful? And boom, Wounds to Wealth was born.
Got you. Let's go. At what point, at what age did your daughter come in your life?
My daughter, what was I? I was 22, and I turned 23 a month after she was born, I think.
Okay.
Or 23, I think. Somewhere around there. She was born. I'm 27 now. She's 3.5. So do the math there. I don't know. I was young.
That's a lot of math. One of the things I noticed when I first started following you is you were constantly you were in an RV, you were in a camper, and you were always going somewhere. And then I started learning more about you, basically that you've been all over this country, back and forth, doing the RV life for a while. So like, how did that start? And then what is that like? Because I joke around all the time, like, I mean, I have a home now that I bought, like all these things that I never thought were a possibility. But it sounds so damn freeing to just say, fuck it, I'm going to buy an RV. We're going to travel the country, and I'm just going to go run races wherever I want to. So like, how did that happen?
Yeah, I blame my Hungarian gypsy blood that for my wanderlust. But yeah, the RV thing, it really started after I became a single mom, a full custodial single mom. I've always loved travel. I solo traveled all over the world, Japan, Thailand, Costa Rica, Italy. I lived in Spain for a few months. It was aiming to be longer, but there was some mental health issues with my mom, and I just, whatever. And that's when I ended up coming back, meeting the baby daddy, and the rest is history, not in a good way. But, and so I've always had that wanderlust, but the RV living thing kind of stemmed when I became a full custodial single parent. I didn't want to be in the industry anymore. I wanted to be something that she could be proud of. I can't afford this life without it, especially with no child support, especially with the whole other being I'm caring for and having to keep alive, right? And I was like, man, what if I just bought a van? And I had another friend who was also a single mom who was living in an RV, and she kind of like made it sound nice. And it was. And so I just got to this point, this breaking point, because just a little over a year ago, I ended up in the psych ward again due to being assaulted, and then my mind snapped, and then he, blackmailed me and called the police on me because he knew I was going to call the police on him, and I thought the police were there to take me away. To take him away, it was me, and it was just a whole bunch of things that happened. So after I got out of that, I was like, that's it, that was pretty traumatic in itself. I'd never been away from my kid. I was ripped away from her. I was pressed with CPS, pressed with my dog going to the pound.
You're going 1,000 miles an hour.
I know, that's because I'm just trying to make that quick one. But yes, I hear you. I do that too, and I'm sorry, but
there we go.
And so I decided I was going to buy an RV, and I bought that RV, and it's a 1990 Jamboree Ford. I decked that thing out. And I was getting ready to hit the road, van living in it, regardless. So
you were leaving out with the intention of I'm living in the van.
Yeah.
This is what we're doing. Just you and your daughter?
Just me and my daughter, my dogs, my two pitties.
Really?
Yeah, my firstborns. Yeah.
Damn. Were you worried at all as everything you've been through, and now you're about to head out on the road? Were you worried about safety, or?
I felt more hostage in my home than I thought that if I'm in wheels, I could drive away.
Got you. That makes sense. Perfect sense.
Yeah.
So you've been literally from one side of the country to the other?
Yeah.
Shit.
Multiple times, but the last time was in the RV. I've driven cross country 6 times, but that last one was, all the way from the west. I even drove it all the way to Maine, but I stopped in South Carolina, and then I got it over there for the White Mountain Boogie and Blues Fest, and to visit some family, and I came back. But my mom ended up getting sick.
Oh, that was the trip you were on when we first spoke. Okay.
Yep. And she ended up getting stage 3 breast and lymph cancer. And God bless, she's in remission now. Silver lining is I would have never been to South Carolina. Never would have met the love of my life. Never thought that he'd be in South Carolina. South Carolina, what the hell? What, my friends laugh all the time. They're like, what? Thinking of Lydia Richards in South Carolina is just funny to them, and it's funny to me. I just had never had any whatever, but there he was. There, behold, the silver lining of my mom's cancer. God is good, and she's good now, right? And so, but yeah, that was the trip in the RV, and I lived in my RV in her backyard for the rest of the time. And that was hard because, living in tight quarters without like awesome views isn't as pleasurable,
I was going to ask you, through your course of traveling the country in the RV, where's the coolest place that you pulled up to and spend the night?
Oh, man, you know what? It's funny, but I love my truck stops.
Really?
I love them. I really do. I love Loves. I'm all right with Buc-ee's. It's cool. But
Stop it.
I know, Texas.
Stop it.
Oh,
Get
man,
out
I'm
of
getting
here.
the head shakes. I swear. It's all right. It's all right. You got your like beef jerky and your cool stuff. But all I got to say is something about Love's vibe. And like, I just like, it felt like a home. I like walking with my like clown slippers on, like, hey, honey, I'm home. I'm getting my coffee. I don't know, something about truck stops and like just observing people that go in and out of it. I love people.
Yeah.
I love humanity, which is crazy, right? You think that I would hate humanity at this point, right? The world can make somebody jaded real quick, but I love them and I love watching them. And but outside of truck stops, right? The West Coast obviously was the best views. I love mountains, but there was this place and it was just because it was on Harvest Host, and it was this guy's farm. That he opened up to van lifers. And I don't know if it was just...
Oh, that's a thing? Van lifers?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Oh, it's a whole community.
Oh, shit.
Oh, yeah. You get a van, you'll be in the sobriety community, and you'll be in a whole van living community.
Oh, shit.
It's pretty cool. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Before there was ever a Buc-ee's or before there was ever Love's, so I grew up in Youngstown, Ohio. So if you're driving from PA into Ohio, like as soon as you cross the Ohio line, that's where I lived. And there was the world famous, it's called Truck World.
Okay.
And it was like the first big ass truck stop before there was a Love's or anything like that.
Yeah.
And you go in and they got a diner and they got a Jib Jab hot dogs and they got an arcade and they got like all that stuff. And it was just like, oh my God, look at this.
Stimulation.
And so that was like our spot as we're growing up in like high school and we're starting to get high and we're starting to drink. But that was like the 2 a.m. spot to go and all that stuff. Okay. And then all of a sudden Love's and all that starts popping up. But usually anybody that's driven through there has heard of Truck World.
Is it still popping? Is there still Truck World?
It's definitely still there, and there's still a very big sign called Truck World. But it's if you've been in Love's and you take a look at Truck World now, you're like, this ain't shit. Mm-hmm. But at the time, it was that thing. Mm-hmm. Do you remember Meijer? It was like a Super Walmart before Super Walmart.
No.
It was like the first store that I had ever seen that
probably
was like
a West Coast thing, honestly, too.
No,
was
it
it
like
East?
Ohio. Really? Columbus, Ohio is where I first saw it. But it was like Walmart before Walmart. It had like food and you could get like clothes and all that kind of stuff in one. Okay. I didn't know if you had ever saw that.
No, I'm a 98 baby, so I don't know if that was before or after or what.
It's funny how you go to the different places in the country and it's like, all right, what's the grocery store here?
Right.
Florida, it's Publix.
Right. In Maine, it's Hannaford.
Over in Harris
South
Teeter,
Carolina,
Lion.
Food Lion.
Mm-hmm.
Or Piggly Wiggly's. I've just moved to South Carolina and they got a Piggly Wiggly. I was like,
I can't believe you're. Wait, have you been to Buc-ee's?
Yeah, I've been to Buc-ee's. I had it on my to-do list.
All right.
I checked it off. It's all right.
It's all right.
It's huge. It's packed.
I mean, I don't know
why.
There's
no showers in there.
You are right. Love's has showers.
It's just like a market. If they had showers in there, I'd say it's top tier.
Love's got the little kick it TV spot too.
Yeah, I don't hang out in there. I hang out in my van. But yes, you're right.
But they have it all.
But they got the laundry. They got the shower. Yeah, they do got it all. And they're big showers. That's nice.
So you had brought up before Wounds to Wealth.
Yes.
And so as you're trying to see, now we're getting to the beautiful part right here because I think Wounds to Wealth that's my I Am Redemption. And that's where in life that I had no fucking idea that we could ever take all this shit and ever use it to help other people. And that is the biggest gift God has ever given me, was opening my eyes to that and to understand or know that, like, growing up, I think only people that have their shit together could ever impact people. I never thought it could be me, especially to the level at which, we're able to do it now.
Yeah.
And so at what point to go from all this fucking trauma and all this negative self-talk and all this stuff, at what point do you get this inspiration where it's like, yo, I'm going to create something that's going to fucking impact the world?
Yeah, that's a good question. It was at the point where I didn't want all of this suffering and survival to be in vain. And I didn't want people to also feel alone. or not feel supported. As you mentioned previously, a little earlier, how trauma and healing and mental health is just now more become a concept people feel comfortable-ish talking about. And I think that's one of the main core problems to society. If we look at the grand scheme of things.
It's the only reason there's stigmas.
Yeah, exactly, right? To keep it so that we don't overcome these things or whatever, taboo, boom. And then people just feel so isolated and alone. I didn't want all of that to be in vain, and I wanted to use it for the greater good of humanity at large, and also to heal myself in the same making. Hey, I can create something from this and make it be profoundly healing for everyone involved, and insightful. And so that was kind of when it kind of began, and I started, I spent a whole 365 days of really creating these principles inside them and really making sure that they intertwine and connect, because the whole program itself, it's a little all over the place theoretically, but it's not, because it all ties in together. So it goes by 3 phases. It's 6 weeks, it's self-led, and eventually I'm going to be hosting retreats. There's going to be a whole, you're going to be networked to a whole community of people that have gone through similar experiences or want to achieve similar things.
We need to talk.
I know
we
we
need
do.
to talk.
Yeah, we do.
We got some similar ideas.
I know.
Yo, first, I just want to pause real quick. Shout out to fucking us, because what she just said earlier about people are open-ish, right? I hate that people are open-ish, because the freedom they're going to get when they're actually open, if you and I were not open with our shit, there's no fucking reason that you or I should ever be sitting in fucking iHeart Studios talking about that.
Go.
So fucking shout out to us.
Yeah, for
Anyways,
sure.
3 parts.
Yeah,
Let's hear it.
3 phase.
I'm sorry.
6 week. That's all right. And so it starts with, it's the first 2 weeks are targeted around trauma-informed coaching. So this is where we break down what it means to be a human being, what it means to be you, how did your identity be created? Because identity is really just a means of survival. We look back at when we were a kid, we didn't have no identity. We just were a personality. We were just ourselves. We were just this light love character. And all of a sudden life starts hardening us, and we start connecting dots of somebody told me I'm unworthy or whatever, or somebody whatever. And we just create this identity, this hard shell, this head down, whatever. How did that come about? We start dissecting all of these things. Then we, in a healthy way, I say dissecting, but I like to make sure it's noted that it's in a rewarding, not a depreciating way, right? And then we dive into phase 2, which is more self-development, self-leadership, how to apply the laws of power humanely, how to be a leader, which is not somebody demanding things of the world or of yourselves, but as a champion for those that you're guiding, as well as yourself, whether you take that into your business that you're already in or you create a business. How can you show up in a world empowered and powerfully now that you understand this lens of which you thought you were, right? And reshaped it, re-understood it, to now how do I step into this authority of my life and accountability of my life and stop giving the reins over to past experiences or past characters that we created to survive, right? And so after phase 2, we dive into phase 3, which is business strategy, financial literacy, and overall abundance holistically, because life doesn't exist inside a vacuum, right? We can work on all of these things internally, but if the world still is challenging to navigate on the outside because of financials, it's the elixir of life, or whatever, or goals that we want to accomplish but we don't know how, or pain we're carrying that we don't want to be in vain. I know me and you aren't the only ones that right, that have things that we don't want to just have it be the things we carry and suffer with. How can we use this and turn pain into purpose? Right? I am redemption. How can we turn pain into power? And so that's where the power, and that's where the power all kind of unfolds, in the sense of here's this understanding of me. Here's this way that I can now determine where to put my energy, how to step into my highest self, right? In leadership, in abundance, and how can I apply the tools? So then I give these tools, this toolbox of what is passive income, how to acquire passive income, how does family A type B, with the same amount of money, the same amount of debts, how does one end up on top versus the other? What movements do they make? What investments do they do? I'm not a financial advisor, so I can only ever share what I've done to create the lucrative compound interest of my life. Yes, you gain money wherever, but what you do with that money, it's easy to blow money on a bunch of things, blow it on cocaine, whatever, blow it on this, that, and the other, right? Or you can be insightful, and you can also blame the rich, or you can try to learn like the rich. I'm not saying the rich are not the greatest people in the world, but hating them's not going to get you richer, right? So it's just, let me pick their brains. And that's what I did a lot during me being in the industry as well, as I was picking the wealthiest motherfuckers' brains that came through my door, and I would ask them all these questions. And so how do we make investments? So I train on how to invest for beginners, right? Because the stock market can be a dicey, scary game for most people. Are like, oh, that's gambling, right? It doesn't need to be. Also like high yield savings accounts, how things that you can take the money out of, things that people don't know. And then also how to create your own legacy, how to create your own business, maybe from the pain or the wisdom that you hold, how to create what we're doing, and go from there, or apply it to what you're already doing in your career and just make that money continuously work for you. And that's how it gets all wrapped up, and how it goes from wounds to wealth.
Fire.
Yeah.
Fire. So who is the ideal person that stumbles upon your account? Who's the ideal person for Wounds to Wealth?
Yeah, the audience, targeting the audience, it's definitely like a business aspect to like, okay, what's your target audience? And that one I kind of like have been struggling with, but it's anybody from, the earlier you start, the better. So it's going to be like young adults to, maybe people in their 40s or 50s even, because sometimes people just aren't aware of not only how they didn't have the resources back when they were young to work on this trauma, or they never got taught how to manage their money, and they're continuously living in scarcity even as a 50-year-old human being, right? So the age is broad, but ideally those that have experienced hardship, that perhaps live in scarcity, and those that want to make a better life for themselves and refused anything else other than that opportunity. And so that's kind of where I'm at with the target audience. Those that have faced adversity, those that are still carrying that weight, and those that want to create an abundant life for them and their family. Because also in phase 3, we talk about how to get your kids rich at an early age, and in a legal way with taxes and shit.
Right.
So, yeah.
Number one, that sounds like shit that kids should be learning in fucking school.
Yeah.
Like that's what they should really be learning. I remember graduating school. It's like, man, in school we never learned what compound interest is, or what a mortgage is, or
how to do your taxes,
how to even set up your shit with an electric company. Like all the stuff you're getting ready to look at when you get out. We don't learn that stuff. So the fact that you're doing that's fucking incredible.
Cool. Thank you.
Absolutely. What does a normal life in the day of Lydia look like now?
Wow, it's so different now. Now that I have this love in my life and I live outside of the heart of the city, man, it looks so different. Well, I wake up light, grateful, and I get to look at this man that loves me very much. And sometimes I still wonder why. But I'm grateful. And go me, right? Fuck. And anyway, and I get to look at my beautiful girl, roll out of bed. I get to feed my beautiful, healthy dogs that are still kicking, that has been with me since the start of California when I was barely 18. Right. I got these dogs to protect me, right? And like, they've been through it all with me. I mean, I remember I got T-boned and my dogs went flying when I was running away from that guy. I totaled my car. My dogs like flying to the backseat. I mean, they've been through it with me, hiding them in hotel rooms, things, because I don't want to pay the fee, because I'm like, balling on a budget here. When they were puppies. Anyway, my boys. I got an awesome friend that is a huge support system to me. He's my roommate, my best friend, who helps me with my daughter. And I get to be grateful for him in that morning. I wake up, I might look at the stock market. And I just kind of do my little things from time to time. I start working on my business, Wounds to Wealth. I might have a few coaching calls that morning. I might be going to the gym. My man dragging me to the gym. I know you'd be big on that fitness, working on my fitness. So he's got me dragging out to the gym. I enjoy it. It's good for my mental health.
It's a good man you got there.
He
good
is.
man you got there.
He is. I'm really, really quite a lucky gal right now. And I prepare food. I've been working on his luxury pet resort. He's a veterinarian. And so I've been doing the SBA and the business sides of things, right? He's got the doctorate or whatever, and I got the business strategy, crazy OCD mind that can write all this stuff out and create it and do these things. But I'll be doing his marketing when it's launched and things like that. And so yeah, my days just look liberating and free of survival, and stepping into my own redemption.
A little bit different than the thirsty jugular.
Yeah,
right?
A lot different.
Damn. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so fucking happy for you.
Yeah.
I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
Your energy is infectious.
Oh yeah, I've heard that before.
It hit me through social media, and so you're a bright fucking light. And
Thanks.
so just to see that you shining now, because I'm sure back then it wasn't the same. So I couldn't be happier for you. I couldn't be more proud. Couldn't be more proud to have you on the show. Everything.
I'm honored, really, Sean. Thank you.
So not sure if you've ever watched the show before, but for whatever reason, this is always my favorite question. Hypothetically speaking, tonight, your 105-pound self is walking out for the UFC Women's Championship of the World. What is your walkout song?
My walkout song?
What's that one song that gets you ready to fucking go? Ready to kick the world's ass? Ready to take it over? Wounds to fucking wealth coming at you.
God, that is hard. I got so many songs, and I definitely have not been listening to any hardcore walkout songs
Just
lately.
whatever. It doesn't got to be hardcore, but just what's that one?
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is when I was a kid, that Papa Roach song, "Cut My Life."
Oh, yeah. Last Resort?
Yeah, but that's not even my favorite song right now. But I don't even know. What's the song I was jamming to before the podcast was the one by Gabriel Jacoby.
Okay.
Big fan of him, but that's more of like a groovy, like getting the vibe, not so much like a rah.
Right. Where do you see Wounds to Wealth in 5 years?
I see it hopefully within 10 years reaching more globally than just my little neck of the woods, my little cornerstone. I see it showing up at things such as schools, offering it to high school students or just being public speaking about the concepts of which I teach in Wounds to Wealth. And being on stage and as a public speaker discussing the topics of which I provide inside that platform, and even bringing it to I have a passion project that I'm working on that's kind of branching off of Wounds to Wealth, but it's bringing back humanity and care and psychiatric care, and I'd like to take that to different psychiatric units and give people these tools in a different way. To better assist people struggling. So everywhere.
Fucking right.
Yeah.
Over the world.
Over the world.
Somebody's listening to this right now. They just heard your story. They're going through something very similar. What's your advice for them?
And you don't stop when you're stuck in the middle of hell. That is not the place you stop.
Keep pushing.
Keep pushing.
Love it. Love it.
I hated hearing that back in the day, but
yeah, there's so many fucking things that I was told when you were young that you like going through in one ear and out the other, and then you get it as an adult and you're like, fuck, man.
Yeah.
Why didn't I listen to that shit?
Yep.
My stepdad told me nearly every day, show me who your friends are, I'll show you who you are. And I'd walk around I'd walk around thinking I was the biggest leader in the world, but all I know is every time I hang around people that do dope, my ass is doing dope.
Yep.
And so now, literally, the one thing I talk about most is the importance of the people you choose to surround yourself with.
Yep.
Which is just a doctored up version of the exact thing my stepdad told me my whole life.
Yes.
And it couldn't be truer.
Yeah, you're right. You are the sum of the people you surround yourself with.
Hands down. So. Hands down. I can't thank you fucking enough for being willing to come on here and share your experience, strength, and hope. Like, you are the shit, Lydia. I can't wait to see what you continue to do.
Thank you.
Anything I can ever do to fucking help you, I am here for you 100%. the way we like to wrap up the show, if you would be so kind, if you take a look in your camera over here and maybe throw out a couple I am statements that let them know who Lydia truly is.
Okay.